Why do movies look so much better? Hello everybody, my name is Marco Bagnoli, I'm a cinematographer, and today we're going to talk about what is the secret essence. You're sitting in front of your TV and thinking, why does this footage look so good? I do the same lighting, I do the same color grading, but somehow there's something more special about it. Today we're looking at the movie The Danish Girl, and I'm gonna show you a few scenes from it and tell you what makes the footage so special and why our footage maybe doesn't look like it. So this is the first shot we're looking at, and this is this very cool and impressive wide shots. We have the painter and the guy being painted over here. We have the whole feeling of the room, this nice window at the center, nice texture on the wall. But what makes this footage so special or makes it so movie-like? First things first is sometimes the ceiling is not what you think it is. A lot of movies are practically just sets. What do you mean with it? The only thing real is often this part of the room, because most of your shots are on eye level and just a few wide shots are in the scene, so this part is not important. So you have a lot more possibilities to have cooler rooms, because now you can make everything as you want and you can also light as you want, because when the upper part doesn't exist, most of the time you have here a lot of nice rigs where you can put on your lamps everywhere you want. You control the ambience of the room with no problem and blah, blah, blah. So this is the first thing you can't do normally, because your room you're shooting is not a set. So you are limited to the spaces and possibilities of the room. So this window is for them on ground level. So you can just put your standard combo stands and your big lights in there and blast into the room. In real life, for us, when we find the cool room like this, where we say, oh, it's perfect, it looks very good, nice colors, everything, then it's the problem. This could be on the 5th floor. So we don't have light stands that are high enough. So we have to rig something from the ceiling and shoot under, or put mirrors up and put a light on the ground and blast it into the mirror and hope getting a little bit of exposure in the room. Way too complicated. So it's also possible that this room here exists. I'm just telling you the possibility or the few things you'll most of the time not be able to do, because we don't have the money for it, we don't have the time for it, and just shows the limits of our working space. I mean, a lot of people tell you it's not about money, it's not about blah, 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 it's about creative and blah, yeah, that's right. But in a professional environment, we cannot only hope for creativity, because creativity comes most of the time at time, and not everyone here has the feeling on set, let's make the best possible product. We have all the time of the world. No, there are people that work on a set, they want to feed themselves, they feed their family, so they have to work in a timetable. So everything has to be as fast and efficient as possible, and the only thing you can do it is with money. Don't let be fooled by it that you cannot do nothing cool or impressive without money, but money is an essential tool in the film industry. So don't play it just away as it's not something very important. So next thing, normally when this is a real window and I'm going into room, you have to build your lighting setup, and you build it with the widest shot most of the time. So I go into the room and I want, this is my composition. So this is where I put the camera down, and now the only light source I see in the frame is this window. So every light in the scenery should come from here, because this is what the audience sees, this is what feels the most natural. Now when we would have this wide shot and a light is filling the sky from here, it wouldn't look good. So avoid it. So your life gets easier when you just work with the realism of the scene that you already seen. Because now we put in there, first thing first, I would expose for the highlights. Every camera nowadays, Blackmagic, Panasonic, Sony, has enough latitude that you can do something like this. For sure, when the sun is exactly at this point, you will get a clipped window. But on an overcast day, or a little sunny like this, you can easily expose for here. And then, like I said before, because the ceiling here is probably not real, they can build a big softbox above then and just put sky panels under there, and now they can control the ambience and the contrast with zero problem. When you just expose for the outside, your whole room will get dark. So we have to balance it by a different way, like putting your lights. With my favorite thing to do is putting a light 1200 with a max spot on it from aperture, and then only spot the area across my actors and just try to fill in the ambience here, so I can control the contrast a little bit better. Or just draw it on the ceiling, but then you probably notice everything will get bright and you lose a bit of control, but that are the limits that we have and we have to work with. So next thing I would do after I set exposure here, I will know, okay, light is coming from this direction, light is bouncing everywhere, but I want this contrast on their faces and I want more of it. So I would flag this whole wall where the camera stands with molten and negative fill, so that light cannot bounce anywhere and we get a nice contrast on the side. Because our job as a cinematographer is to create layers, and this is the best way to create layers, with most of the time removing light. Then next thing you do is, now you have the basic set, camera stands, exposure is set. Always also a little tip beforehand, expose for the room how you want the room to look like. So what I mean is that you go into the room and now you set, okay, I want this, like this is the mood of the room, it should be this dark, and then try to change the exposure on your actor. When I know I have this mood and now they're darker, it's pretty easy. I can put my light outside here in a scene like this. There's multiple ways you can do it. You can go pretty hard with an M18 or something like this. Just a frost frame, little diffusion, and then just blast it into the scenery. So we get a nice edge light on her, nice key light on him, and that's done. Don't always have to work with the softest lights and everything. Just try to find your levels. Try to give you one day in your life where you just go to a rental store when they know you, probably give you a little bit of time, try everything out. So sit your person into a room, put a big light outside, and then switch just the diffusions. Make a quarter diffusion, a half diffusion, just a frost frame, full and everything. And then after that, you just have a feeling for, okay, this is the type of diffusion I will get. So, and this is what I choose. So it's just experience. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. It depends on so many light levels and moments and the next scenes that are in the scenery. So if you have a really good connection to your rental house, ask them that you can try something, and then believe me, you are set for the rest of your life. Then the next thing that really makes the scene cinematic is the color palette. Something you can control most of the time, but most of the time also not. Because when this room is pink, but you want it blue because she's wearing blue, he is wearing blue, you want this really monochromatic look, you can not just paint the wall differently when you're in this old vintage location somewhere. When you have the possibility to build a room, this is a big thing that steps you level up, that you have control over your color palette. Because if you look closely, here's nothing, just blue and a bit of warmish skin tone textures, even the dog or here the bed. It's not just all over the place. It has a theme and they really controlled over it. So this is the other theme from the movie. And the cool thing about this is here the composition. Don't always just, because of social media, we really focus on center framing. But on movies, they're a lot more creative. They're sometimes just like here, people are just in a corner, just filling out a little bit of the whole frame and the rest is empty. Overall, big movies has a lot of emptiness, space. The picture breathes. So most people just put everything in the frame and there's no room for anything else. But we don't do it just for aesthetic reasons. Sometimes it has more story-driven reason, because when here you can actually tell a lot about this frame. So he's sitting alone in a bedroom, then he is facing the edge of the frame, so pretty alone, looking somewhere away. Here's probably a window. It's here brighter in the image and it's get progressively darker. So we can guess a little bit that he's now lonely but looking for a brighter side. So just a few things where I'm just guessing, but where you can tell with a little bit of space and placing your character a lot more story. Then always think about it. Your job as a director, cinematographer is always show, not tell. The more you can show, the better is your cinematography. Also here, nice example of lazy cinematography. I want this guy to have nice exposure, a little bit softer. So we put him on window side, and when the exposure from window is not enough, this is a set, then you would build most of the time a softbox that has similar size. So we're going for a 6x6 frame, half grid cloth or something like this, and then you blast your light in there. You can also do a book light where you put a strong light against the ultra bounce, and the light bounces against it, and then shoot a half or a quarter when you ultra bounce it, so that's not removing too much light, and it's done. Just emulate as much real life as possible with a thick edge around it. And then, like I said before, if the whole gradient gets too strong and everything is bright, put some neck in here, but also consider color grading. When doing color grading yourself, or you know the colorist and something reliable, I wouldn't try to stress me out with, this wall is still as bright as this and I don't want it, because I know, hey, the colorist is not stupid. He's able to put a gradient around here where everything gets darker across the image. Done. So color grading, VFX, put something in post is not the devil. It's totally an option nowadays that is easy to do. This is also a nice example for this film look everyone's talking about, because if you look close at her, she doesn't have really good exposure on her at all. And this is the trick. Light your people like the scene should feel. Not everything is on perfect skin tones, skin exposure. When you put your false color and always aiming for that right pinkish or green spot, it's not right, because we're in a dark, moody location, so our skin is not purplely balanced or exposed. So we go darker with everything. Also, don't just drop light on her, because here is no direct light source. Maybe it should feel just indirect. So don't try more a bounce, a big bounce. They probably put here big bounce just in front of her face, and a spotlight is aiming to it. And just on a small percentage, that gives her a little bit of fill, so that she's not completely black, and that's in. Because we expose for the room, we expose for our practicals, and this is the exposure we want. Then we put our actor in, and then just level the exposure of her so that it fits the mood of the scenery, because we still clearly want to see her expressions, emotion and everything else. So it would be pretty stupid to just, because it's more logical to make black. So this is what I mean with try to do as much real life as possible, but this is cinema. We can change things. We can make something more unrealistic to tell the story a little bit better. Here's also a nice example of exposure. Make your image dark as possible. This is night. Why would everything or anything at all be on good exposure? It isn't. Also here the background, it could be possible. This is green screen, so this would be real houses in the background, but the cheaper way to do it is with just big prints of buildings, so that you have a construction in the background and just a big picture of buildings in the background, because it's much easier to get exposure on them, because at night lighting whole houses up is pretty difficult. You can keep your blue hour or something that you want without any problems with time of the day, and it sometimes or most of the time looks a little bit better than green screen, because then you have to start to key, then replace things, and the whole workflow gets more complicated. So you can just put your image up in the background, put a little bit of light on it, and it's done. So now we only have to concentrate on the inside, and you can see we have barely any light. Probably a big top light where it's just on 1%, just giving a little bit of fill. And then her getting from outside with the softbox, could be a light dome or something, or a light panel, light mat, just a small edge light to highlight a little bit, and it's done. Also, you don't have to expose like your end image. Most of the time we expose higher, and then in color grading we just put it down, because we get a much cleaner negative and overall have more possibilities. And when you're shooting like that, your image would get noisy. It's much harder to grade, because we're going here for really hard bluish tints, and everything becomes more complicated. So always expose brighter. Your ratios should be just the same. So when everything here would be 4 stops higher, and her face also 4 stops higher on this little edge light, and you push it down, it will look the same, because the ratios of everything are fixed. So it only becomes different when you start to change the ratios. So if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate subscription from you. My name is Marco Bagnoli, and I'll see you next time.